Hey there, Niyama Shang here, leader of Trailblazers and founder of the Trailblazer Collective. And today, I'm really excited because we get to do something different. We get to have a conversation with one of the biggest Mavericks, Trailblazers, outliers that I know. His name is David Taylor-Klaus, and he's been someone that I've had conversations with on this platform a few different times. And each time that we come in, there's been a different focus as well as a different level of insight that I've gotten and a deeper connection of conversation as well. Today, I'm happy to bring to just have a conversation with David for around something that is actually really exciting in both of his worlds, which is David has recently launched a book. It's called Mindset Mondays with DTK: 52 Ways to Rewire Your Thinking and Transform Your Life. So today we get to play. We got to play here a bit with DTK. You'll hear me call him that, David Taylor-Klaus. And we'll also get a chance to explore how he was able to leverage some of, actually all of who he was, to be able to bring this thing to life, this book to life, as well as give you some insights and some things that you can do when it comes to getting the book yourself and learning from all the different wisdom and the different things that DTK has brought to life through this work. So, David, I am thrilled to be able to have this conversation with you. I think I just get really excited for wherever this conversation happens to go. I hold you in high regard, and I deeply respect you. I'm glad that you and I get to have a conversation today.
Hey, thrilled to be in the sandbox with you. Thanks, Neil.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's fun to be back in the sandbox, and I love that idea of this year. We're specifically crafting this in a way that of blazing the trail together. We have a destination in mind. We have some places that we can go, but ultimately, we're here to just be us as we continue to navigate and share a little bit more of your journey on behalf of you, and also for anyone else that's in that position of trying to see how can I take my message or things that I've been doing and take it to another level, take it to a whole new game. So DTK, I think what would be really great, because I find myself, I'm a person that's about the meta. I want to know about how you did what you did. I want to understand how your brain worked, so that we can see what are the different ways that you look at life that enable this to come to life so simply. So, or maybe not simply, but that brought this to life your way. So I think before we get into all the meta, let's just talk about like the concrete. Let's start off. Tell us more about you. Like, who are you, David? Let's explore that. We'll also get into a little bit of the book, and then we'll just continue the journey from there.
Fabulous.
So first and foremost, let's just find out who. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Um, yeah, so it's interesting. Where my mind wants to go on this one is who I be, not what I do. And, first and foremost, um, son, parent, spouse. I am a playful human being who's found a way to bring play into all of my work. So what I do for a living is I'm actually a coach. My work is my favorite way to describe it is that I reintroduce successful entrepreneurs and senior executives to their families. So for me, that shows up as, one-to-one coaching for the leader and team coaching for the teams they lead, so that instead of having work and jamming life into the little gaps around it, it's the other way around. They craft the life they crave and then architect their business to support that life. So short version is I did it wrong, so I figured out how to do it a different way. And so now I work with folks who are also trying to figure out a different way.
Absolutely. And there's like the idea of play just really
Mm.
resonates through for me. I know you're someone that I look to, and I see the way that you have brought family and you navigate family as well in your life. And I love that you have made it a point to help other people be able to have that level of integration as well.
And I think play actually becomes the invitation, even to work on the deepest, most intense stuff. I don't start coaching sessions with, what do you want to work on today? Good God, man, people are working on everything all the time. It's, what do you want to play with here?
Mhm.
My first email, once a client signed on and they get all the welcome stuff in the process, it says, "Welcome to the coaching playground." It's people will play with some really intense, sometimes incredibly dark stuff and go all in and bring all of their creativity as opposed to, I got to go work on this stuff. It's the language, that idea that words create worlds. Language is important, man, and it shifts people's engagement and engagement style. So yeah, I'm a big fan of bringing play in.
I love how words create worlds. When you say that here, I know you've carefully chosen some words throughout your book here to actually create a world and give us some different mindsets throughout the just how we can actually see our world.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to go and explore that. I also think about you, DTK, as someone who is really you're someone who has taught me the power of language. You've been a great mentor along that path there, and I noticed the language that I choose to use. Uh, it's actually been influenced by our conversations and also by the attention that you bring to it. So I'm really excited to be in this conversation. I want to make sure I share that with you as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So like we're definitely going to play today. We're definitely going to play. I want to also just get into the book a little bit here. So tell us a little bit more about this Mindset Mondays with DTK, 52 ways to rewire your thinking and transform your life. Give us a little bit of an insight into the book itself, and then we'll go into like your process and keep playing from there.
So Mindset Mondays actually started with a business card. All of my business cards have quotes on the back. I've got 50 different business cards, the backs, 50 different backs to my business cards. And I'm a bit of a quote nerd. Like I said, Judith Glaser, the words create worlds is actually a quote from Judith Glaser, one of my mentors. And I collect beautiful words because I think independent of how I use words to describe things and express things, I'm a collector of brilliantly concise quotes. And when I was looking in 2017 for a way to get more comfortable and more facile in front of a camera and more fluid with my point of view and talking about it, my marketing person and I sat down and she looked at me, she said, "Come on, man, we've just done all these cards and narrowed it down from hundreds of quotes to these 50. What if you did a weekly live broadcast where you grabbed one of the cards and just riffed for 10 minutes every Monday morning?" It's like, holy crap, we can make this about mindset. And then it just exploded from there. This was totally a self-serving motivation. Flip on a camera, get over the nerves, get comfortable with my content, and then make it more of an exchange. Start interacting with folks in the community. And the feedback I started getting from the community, the messages back and forth during the live broadcast, and the people who listened to these things that were posted on Facebook for the weeks and weeks after each live broadcast, started to surface how much of a shift they were experiencing just from opening up a new mindset. And so as I what felt like slogged through the first 3 months, and then it became the first 6 months, as I started approaching a year, it was like, holy crap, I have learned so much about mindset, and the people in this community have learned so much about mindset. There's got to be a story here. And that story turned into a book. But the difference is, I read something in 2015, some research that the Pew Trust did, that got me kind of upset. I mean, I got a stack of books here, and I've got a bookshelf full of books over there. And I live with somebody who's published several. And I know how much effort my wife has put into every book that she's ever created. And I know my friends who have written and published books, how much of their essence and life and energy and effort they pour into those several hundred pages. And the research out of the Pew Trust said that 40% of people who walk into a bookstore leave with a book. And what's worse is 41% of the people who buy a book read past the first chapter. It's like, that's crushing. Most books are shelfware. And I don't know if I was uncomfortable or disgusted, but what I was committed to doing is if I was going to tell this story, if I was going to put these stories out there, it was going to be designed to be something that people use. And so we can talk more about what the elements are, but idea of a framework for people to use to make what they learn, take what they learn and make it real, and a mechanism for them to actually interact with it on an ongoing basis. So I actually created this book with I took a lot of help from folks around me, and I had somebody help me craft this book as well. It is designed for people to use it throughout the year. So it's part labor of love, part book, part outcome cascade of a self-serving effort. How's that for capturing it, Niyama?
You know what? What I love about this here is this. It's just how much of the essence of you through this process has even come out. What I would love to do really quickly is to slow down a bit on this. And the
Oh
moment
yeah,
I hear something and then it just exploded from there, I was like, all right. So like in the moment of combustion, like, can we just go to that moment and just kind of like slow that down, rewind that, slow
yeah.
that down? Um, because there's a lot of different things that I was hearing throughout this year. One of them is this book started from a business card. Did I get that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So like some of the things that was really like striking to me, you had an idea before 2017 to like create these cards that would have a quote on it because words are really important to you, right? And then you got done that. And what I'm hearing is that then there was another project that was built on that, right? Which was and that was to like to go out there and create the videos.
All of this is under the umbrella of repurposing content. All of it.
Yeah, yeah. This is what I'm feeling here. This is what I'm feeling. Like that's what I want to call out first and foremost. Like just the commitment to repurposing. It's like it was almost like the book itself had started being written back when the card was out, and you didn't even have insight in it. Did you know that you were going to write a book at that time? I guess that's the question that's on my mind.
When we first talked about the videos, no, but I want to go back a click because
Yeah.
what you said was so sweet. Um, yeah, it wasn't a commitment to repurposing content. It was purely least amount of effort for most amount of impact, right?
Mm.
I had content. I could go create more content, or I could figure out ways to use, repurpose, and expand what I already had. A tenth of the effort for 10x the impact. So call it lazy, call it efficient, call it brilliant, whatever you want. It was doing as little effort as possible in the midst of the day-to-day operation of my company to get the most impact.
All right. So there's a bit there. There's a bit that I want to that element of 10% of the effort to get 10% of to get
Oh
10
yeah.
times the impact. That's massive. We'll
And
like
you've talked about that before, and I love how you bring that into the space. That's huge.
absolutely. I would probably call it laziness, right? I'm like, be lazier, be lazier. You're working way too hard. Be lazy. So I'd love to I want to explore this here because I'm hearing the overarching like this is what I did. But I would love to. I think where I like to see here is for us to go a couple layers underneath to understand like what was your mindset at that time, right? So I'm
You
thinking
mean
about
you mean besides I don't want to do any of this? I don't want to flip
yeah.
on the camera. I don't want to be public. I don't want to expand my visibility. Yeah, the heart's saying get out there and the brain is saying turn off the camera. Be quiet.
Okay,
Shh.
let's go to that. Let's
Yeah.
go to that because because what I'm hearing here is like this is an ongoing journey that has continued to grow, continue to grow, continue to grow into whatever the next evolution is. I'm realizing this we're having this conversation that this book is not the end either. You know,
Oh no.
we're just at a point in time before the next thing that grows from this grows, and I really want to call that out here. So yeah, I want to go back to all those things you talked about the heart was saying something and the brain was saying something else. And I look at you as someone who knows how to unlock the power of the heart on behalf of yourself and for others. So I would love to go into that heart space here because I think that's where myself, other Mavericks, other Trailblazers, we have an idea. We're stuck in that place, or we have our heart chatter and we have our brain chatter going on, right? And right now, the current result is a manifestation of a book. But I would love to go into those places where you continue to just start such that you had things to repurpose.
Okay, see, so what you know about this story is that the conversation was in 2017 and there's a book now. What you don't know about the story is that I didn't do anything with the marketing plan that we created in 2017, in February of 2017, until January of 2018. I sat on it because I listened to the head chatter. The heart doesn't need any reassurance or any corroboration or any agreement from anybody outside. The head craves it, right? So you listen to your head and you sit still and wait to be loved or stroked or acknowledged or validated. The heart's like, let's go, let's go, let's go, right? The heart knows. The brain doesn't know shit. So I literally didn't do anything until I assist in the training, in the curriculum delivery for the place where I did my coach training back in 2008. And I was sitting in one of those courses. And one of the things that the assistants do is we dive in to the dyads and triads when the coaches are practicing. I get some exquisite coaching for some very new coaches. And one of them was talking about, okay, what's one of the things you want to work on? It was like expanding my visibility, getting myself and my message out there so I can expand my impact of footprint or footprint of impact. And she started coaching me around that. And I fessed up that I had this whole plan mothballed on a shelf. And we happened to be working on challenges at that point. She goes, okay, pull out your phone. So she goes, text your marketing person, tell her you're launching this week. I was like, no, oh, hell no. So we launched in 15 days and launched the Mindset Mondays broadcast. I'm now approaching 150 weekly episodes. But it was a challenge to just start doing it. I'd heard from a coach friend of mine who said, your first 6 videos are going to suck. So get out there and start sucking. So it was ripping off the Band-Aid and getting started. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. I did not want to do it. But I made a commitment to this coach in a challenge to do it. I flipped the switch with my marketing person. And I posted something that afternoon that said I was starting the broadcast on Groundhog Day so that next year at Groundhog Day, my life didn't look the same. And damn it, I launched it. And so at that point, and here's the part that's fun for us, Niyama, I started it. And once I started it, it was like, okay, well, I got to do this, right? So I leaned in.
Yeah. So like, this is like, I'm also, as we talk, I get really curious as to what is your, how do I say it? Your path to your own unique success. Like, what are the things that work for you? And so some of the things I'm hearing from you here in this case was, there was an element of visibility that was already showing up for you, and you were having a conversation around it. You surround yourself with people who are like asking themselves these types of questions, or you can actually get support. You surround yourself in a place where you can actually get support there. You heard the challenge, and you answered the call at that point, and you just got started. Am I like? Is there anything else that you would say, like in terms of that, like initial part?
There's another piece to it. There's the piece of outing myself. You can't. You can just get started, but you can also be in your own, in your own dark corner, pretending that you can do this all by yourself. There's a difference between saying to the public, and whether it's any single point of external accountability. The bigger that point of accountability is, the more likely I am to keep it going. Announcing to the world that I'm starting this broadcast, damn it, I'm going to start it, right? Announcing that I'm going to do the book, I had to do the book. So by putting myself out there, and whether it's fear of rejection, shame, or just determination that I'm going to do it once I say that I'm going to do it, or a combination of all of them, once I out myself that this is coming, I got to do it.
Yeah, I love that here, and part of why I want to call this out here, it's really for you trailblazers out there that are listening to this or watching this. There's this element here of we're finding David's path as he's creating this here, and I get really excited to see just how you're able to find that 10%, of the effort. And as we're doing this here, I want to invite you to also play for yourself. What is your path? What are the things that, think of a project, think of something that has come up for you recently, and how were you able to just really take that from 0 to 1 and get that started, and I love being able to explore this with you, David, because I, I don't know. There's elements of this where I'm like, elements of it that feel really familiar. It feels familiar for me in my own stories and some of the things that I've gotten done. And as you say it, I'm like, oh, that's another tool that I can use the next time I'm stepping into something that's beyond my comfort zone. Oh wait, that's right. This has worked for me as I've walked out into uncharted territory in the past. So I'm appreciative that we're spending some time on this and just like seeing what's going on for you in the heart there. So you got started on this mindset Mondays. You're now 150 episodes in. Tell me here. We kind of got into we started with the business card. You reach a place of like, okay, there's a visibility challenge. Thank you for calling yourself out on the fact that like it didn't just happen overnight. It wasn't like I had this insight and then next thing you know, I'm building a community. I'm doing these weekly sessions here. There was time.
Yeah.
There was time. And I appreciate you calling that out because that to me is one of the places where, like I'm thinking about some projects for myself where I'm chastising myself internally, but even right now I'm getting a reminder that in a year or two, people are just gonna be happy that it actually got started whenever it did.
Yeah, and that's one of the other key steps is peeling off the judgment for not having started it already, not having it done already, not doing it bigger, better, faster, more, smarter. I had several points along the way where I picked up the billy club and started beating myself up for all the things or the ways that it wasn't. And I noticed how many points along the way that I had to check in with that. Am I holding the billy club or am I holding the back scratcher? It's easy to look at it from the end and say, God, that looks so easy. It's all smooth. It's all fluid. No, man, there are bumps along the way. And I had a lot of times to dance with judgment versus blameless discernment. Am I voting on how it went, or am I just assessing, oh, this is where it is, this is what's happened? It's super easy to tip out of blameless discernment into judgment, and judgment just is sand in the gears. It doesn't help. And I'll tell you, this is important because it also kept me from asking for help.
Mm.
Like,
All right, let's
damn it,
talk
I'm gonna
about
do
that.
this myself.
Yeah.
And you and I were sitting in a circle with Rich Littman, and when he read the article from Amanda Palmer, or a snippet of an article from Amanda Palmer, crazy author, performance artist, musician, married to Neil Gaiman. She's a trip, and her article, "Take the F and Donuts," was brilliance. Because it was a love letter to her younger self and all the creatives in her world that had this perverse fantasy that they had to do things themselves, because when it's hard it's better, and when you do it by yourself it's grander. And that's all bullshit. And so asking for help is the ultimate strength, and it's what made this book possible. Laurie Shires, the woman who helped me write this book wouldn't have happened without her. The collaboration we had enabled me to birth this book. Otherwise, I would have been in an interminable 10-year pregnancy. So I would say one of the fantasies that you get over by putting your stuff out in the world is doing it alone is insane.
Mm.
Asking for help is strength.
That's really wonderful there. I think I find myself curious, like uh, you mentioned Laurie Shire. Like, what were some things that, like, in general, she was able to help you like navigate? What were some of the elements that you ran into where you're like, I would love some help on this.
For me, it's extracting the story from my head, because
Mm-hmm.
uh, one of the ways, and you've heard a number of my broadcasts, and you've heard me as we've had conversations, my thinking goes in tangents. And the challenge for an audience is that I can bring them all five threads back together. And even if I've got no script, that's what I do. That can be exhausting in a book. And so part of what Laurie helped me do was channel all of it and really pull off what was a distraction and keep a thread. And then taking each of the 52 chapters, one for each week of the year, and then putting them into a storyline, a thread that made sense, whether the audience knows that there's a thread through it or not. Walking through the table of contents, there is a thread, there is a theme, there is a path that it follows, and it makes it a different experience. So trying to take my thinking and the way it works for an audience that already follows me and make it something that is followable by a broader audience was essential.
That's when you say that, that really resonates with me because uh, I haven't written a book yet, and one of the things that's on my mind with it is like right now I'm just gonna go out and create. What I know what I can do right now. I know where my mind is at, and let me go out and create. But there is this element. I love how you said it. Like you've done things, you've created for an audience, you've actually built a real community around it, and now translating that into a different medium. A lot of times for me, when I think about that, in my mind, in my head, I'm like, okay, I got this. When this comes, I'll know what to do. But going back to the asking for help, there's an element of like, look, I'll just say it honestly. I'm like, I wouldn't have said the words if I didn't think they were amazing. So to like,
Yeah, well,
to then, so the process of, for me, editing is not a forte of mine, right? It's not a skill that I can do, but it definitely is not. It's 10 times the work for 2 times the effort, or sorry, 10
maybe.
times the work for 2 times the impact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
for me, it's 10 times work for half the impact. Editing is not where I belong. And Sam Horn, who's a author, speaker, crazy lady, brilliant, to just get the pages out. Don't edit. Do not edit, do not edit, do not edit. Get the pages out. Now, you've been getting the pages out on video for how many years now, Niyama?
This is about like 2, 3 years now. Yeah,
You've got mountains of content, mountains of content.
yeah.
Shove
Well,
them through rev.com, through their AI transcriber engine. You have got reams of content to use. And but you've already written the book, you just don't know it yet. And that's the magnificent thing. Rich was, our coach was talking to us about get busy creating the body of work, create your intellectual capital, and then collect it and see what you've created. Man, you have been creating for so long. This is like, now just start stitching it all together.
all right. So we're stepping into some places. I was like, oh, I wonder where we should go. Where should we play next? We've talked a little bit about transitions. I might come back to the transition as to when did you decide to make a book, but I think that there's this underlying element of like, since you never really set out to go and do this here, right? I would love to keep playing with this idea of like, you had the content, the repurposing elements of it all. The idea of, for me, laziness. Like, I want to understand, like, how did you go from, 100 plus conversations and episodes to like being able to translate that into the book? I'm hearing like you got help. You were working with Laurie. I would love to find out more about some of like and I'm going to call it process. It's not necessarily a step-by-step thing, but like there's some of that journey, some of the things that you thought about in order to like just translate this from one medium to the next in like the most, I'm going to say the most effortless way that you could.
Um, when we set this thing out in 2017, there was this is a live broadcast series. It'll do what I want to do for visibility, for facility, for point of view work. Great. ... There could also be a book. There could also be live events. There could also be, and I stopped paying attention to the ... because I didn't want to do any of the rest of it. In fact, I didn't want to do those more than I didn't want to do the videos. So that was always the, yeah, that's over there, right? There was a part of me that was like, yeah, I'm never going to do any of that. So I got to, I want to say about episode 70. So we're 20 weeks into the second year. I was like, I asked the community, so this was going to be a year-long series. Who's interested in me continuing or not? And it was, I got nothing negative, which was, that just meant people who didn't want to listen to it stopped listening anyway, right? Already. So I got great feedback, and yeah, the ego got excited about that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep going. Well, if I'm going to keep going, I might have to pay attention to that ... stuff. And I started to look at it, and I saw it through the lens of the feedback I got. The stories about how this one comment you made in a broadcast 3 months ago changed the way I see XYZ, changed my life. I was able to shift this. I was able to shift that. Those responses, that feedback is like, okay, on one hand, this gets out to a broad audience. I got a ton of my community on LinkedIn, never goes to Facebook. I've got folks who hate consuming online. They want something that they can take and sit and read or read. It's like, well, am I going to reach a different audience? Am I going to reach an overlap? Am I going to expand the footprint? And my whole drive is about impact. You and I have talked about that impact billionaire idea, and I think I've talked about it within the community here. And the more I can expand the footprint of my impact with the least amount of effort, more I'm in.
So you just mentioned impact billionaires. You opened that door. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, this is the most amazing group of human beings on the planet. These are folks who are no longer motivated or driven by the number of dollars they amass. It's purely about the number of lives that they can touch. And these people are playing with ideas and concepts that, whether they know it yet or not, they have the ability to shift the experience, the lived experience of up to 1 billion people. And this is an amazing way to approach and see the world. It's cultural re-architecture. And so these are folks that I'm fascinated by, and I'm fascinated about serving them. Talk about a tenth of the effort for 10 times the impact. I get to serve these people as they are impacting large swaths of humanity as a way for me to expand my footprint of impact. And the book seemed like another force multiplier for my footprint of impact.
So like I'm loving this. I'm seeing this here, and look, I see you as an impact billionaire, and that's part of the reason why I want to make sure we're having this conversation. I know that for me, I'm very excited to just like dive very much into the book and continue to apply all the things that come out from it. I love our conversations, and so to me to have access to basically like DTK's mind and in a in the short, digestible, very like easy to process and implement kind of fashion. I get very excited about that. I want to make sure that I do ask some of these questions here because I have a number of trailblazers who they've done it. They're like me, right? In fact, I can even just be selfish, and I think that in me being selfish, it will serve everyone as well.
Right.
Like you talked earlier, I have a lot of content. There's a lot of things that are coming out. It's like that's part of what I do. I would love to follow that path of like, just being lazy, the 10% of the effort to 10 times the impact. If we were going to drill down a little bit more, let's say a little bit more tactically, not from like the standpoint of here goes, I want to understand like, how did you frame this in your own mind to make that transition of it's in one piece of content to another? We've had some conversations and you told me about like comments and you told me about like, the way that you were amassing what was going on. You even mentioned Rev in this conversation here. So I'd love to just kind of like just hear from you some of the ways where it's like, and in the I know it's time intensive, but in the creation of this, it was also created in a way that stayed very aligned with you and leveraged what you had already created.
I mean, so when I'm hearing the question is both the tactical and the meta at the same time.
Precisely.
Okay.
Precisely.
The sharing a bunch of videos with people to try to support you in collecting these stories is a cumbersome way for people to do it. No matter how fast either one of us speaks, videos pace the way the videos pace. And you can either amp the speed and shift the experience, or you can collect the content. I went through and shoved them through Rev's engine, pulled down the transcriptions, had my assistant pull the chat thread for each post was placed inside a group and on Facebook. And now they're also onto YouTube. So I have 3 different places where comments collect and where I'm exchanging with where I'm commenting back with these folks and having conversations. So my assistant went through and yanked the comments thread from each one of these and shoved them into a Google Doc. And so once every couple of weeks, she would spend a few minutes, cut, paste, done, boom, done. And that document just expanded. So all the content's in one place. There's a comment I heard as I'm going through the publishing process. The best way to, I'm jumping ahead, stay with me. The best way to create the keywords that work for Amazon's search engine is to take the first several 4 and 5 star reviews that you get. I like how positive they are. Yeah, the 4 and 5 star reviews, right? Take the comments from those, the phrases in there, and use them as your keywords, because those are folks who have read it and experienced it. Use their language, you're more likely to have those work in the Amazon search engine. Because what the author thinks and what the audience think don't always align, right? So what you think the threads are in your content and what the real threads are that the audience are going to respond to, not necessarily the same, right? I wouldn't necessarily have thought, just because I called it Mindset Mondays, that that's where the shift was going to be. So looking through all the stories, even just doing searches against it to see what words are showing up most often, going through the content and seeing what the themes and the threads are, and having somebody else go through it is incredible, because they'll see things that you absolutely do not. So on the phone with a friend of mine yesterday who's several months ahead in terms of publishing his book, and his book is called Jesus Goes to Hollywood. It's a memoir, and it's a story about addiction and recovery. And one thing he never thought it was a love story. And 5 people in the first 20 reviews said it's a magnificent love story. And people are seeing a thread that he never saw or thought of. He gets it, but that's not the way he would describe it. So he started to play with the keywords in the book description, and his book sales went up because it's actually tied to what people are responding to. So take that back to the beginning of the creation process. Let somebody that's not you or part of your community scan through, skim through, read, and start seeing where the threads are. Let some folks from your established community go through, see what they pull from it. See what surfaces that you can't see because you're so close to it.
That sound right there is what I was experiencing as you were saying this. And the reason for that is I didn't realize it, but there was a tension. There's a tension that I've allowed to creep in different areas. And the tension was, okay, well, how do you know that it'll be good? How do you get it right? How do you get it right? Will this be good enough? What will people think? All those kinds of questions. If I'm looking to repurpose it later on? Like, should I have the themes ready to go right now from the very beginning? Actually, I do want to ask you about that. But there's just a bunch of things that were going on in my mind. I didn't realize I was holding on my shoulders. And what I got from that there was like, your job, it's almost like your job is to create, is to share what's on your heart into the world in a powerful and compelling way. And it's their job to be able to like, at the end of that, that's it. What they make of it, what other people make of it is also a part of the creative process. But I felt a lot of relaxation because it just took me out of that element of like, oh, I have to craft this in a certain way. I have to get them to a certain place. I have to take it into a place where it would be compelling. And it's like, actually, they'll tell you what the story is in and of themselves. They'll tell you what is compelling along the way. And then you can just help them see that even easier.
Well, so here's an important distinction, because anybody who's from the marketing world is going to think, oh, great, product design by market research. No. The content that you've created is still content from the heart. You're not sitting there saying, okay, what do I have to talk about today? What are the most people going to respond to? You're creating content that's coming from your heart and from who you be. So this is not designing something that you've got no connection to because it's all about what they want. So you're not creating something that's hollow, right? This is about what's the language that they're going to resonate with. So you're looking for feedback. It's still got to come from who you be. So that's an important piece of this. And I'm saying that because it's not just the two of us in a conversation, because there are other people listening. Because I know that no matter what the language is that in the threads that you find in the story, I know you well enough to know it's still going to come from your heart and come from here. And I want that to be an out loud piece of the conversation anyway. This is not
I'm thrilled
creating
that
a shell. This is like got to be core.
I am thrilled that you said that. I'm thrilled that you said that, and I think that's like it's there's a directionality of this coming out where it's like this is coming through you first. This is coming through you. This is coming from the heart. This is coming. This is what you need to express in the world. This is you. And then there's the element of okay, how can we help it so that other people can hear it? But
Yes.
but the order of it is not what do people want to hear.
Mm.
I'll go tell them that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
Never. I
yeah.
mean, we have enough experience in the world of products and media and things designed that way that are for us to consume, and they all just feel empty.
Yeah, I
Ew.
think that the thing that's important, like there's an element of this that's important to me. It's taken a new importance. This feels right in terms of just the path of being able of expression. But I think that a lot of us here as trailblazers, we have this opportunity to help the world see itself differently. And as a result of that, if we're looking to see if we're reflecting what the world already sees itself as, then there's no real change or transformation. It's really more of the same. If we're talking about what an echo chamber might look like, and we can actually be part of the process as people looking to make an impact, but just actually saying more of what everyone wants to hear, as opposed to it being what I'm hearing from you, just like what is it? What is your unique thing that needs to come out, whether it's unique or not? What needs to come out of you? And then using that to make sure that okay, this has come out of me. Let's make sure that people can actually be able to leverage this, to use this, to hear this. They're finding it in whatever way it is. Like it's a love. The story is already written, whether you think of it as a productivity story or a love story. Like the story is written. That in and of itself is there. Now let's make sure that people actually have a chance to be able to experience it and grow with it and take it through whatever theme or medium that they need to take it in. Am I getting that
And,
right?
and here's a flavor. Here's a layer that will help that. That it's not what naturally comes out of you. That's the
Mm,
beginning. Finding the thread that people respond to. That's the middle.
mm,
The last layer is what must come out of you. Right? As you go through it, it's got to have that. This is what I'm compelled to share, to say, to bring. If you're if you write a book, you're going to be talking about it for 3 to 5 years. I mean, assuming it doesn't die and fear, right? You're going to be talking about the content for 3 to 5 years from the time you start the writing process. I mean, how long has Simon Sinek been talking about Start With Why? It was 5 years before he wrote Find Your Why, before he wrote the second book. So you're getting married to this content for a good period. So if it's not something that you're compelled to bring, stop. Right? So at the end of this, the lens that you go through is definitely what's the compulsion? Not what do I need to, ought to, should, must, none of that crap. What is it that I am compelled to do? That comes from the inside. All the rest of that's external.
lovely.
What is that
Lovely.
story that I'm compelled to bring?
So, Trailblazers, I'm going to ask you here. I think it's a great question. When I hear questions, I like to make sure we don't leave them rhetorical. What What are you compelled to bring right now? And this may be your bigger project, or it might be in the very next conversation that you have, the next piece of content, the next way of serving someone that you have. What are you compelled to bring? I want to just give us a chance to really take that and make something of that, because that was a really wonderful gift that you gave us there, David. So let's look at this here as we wrap up this conversation. you had touched upon just even just the way that the book is laid out, and I think that like in and even just the way that you and I have conversations, I think people get a sense as to like how you think about things, how you navigate the world there. And I'm really curious about how you were able to translate that into the book. Especially you had 70 episodes before you even started even thinking about how am I really going to take this before you got serious about how am I going to take this to another platform. I would be really curious as to like, just in terms of how you were thinking about translating each of those 52 episodes into the story, into the themes that are there. Whether or not I thought it was really funny I thought it was really intriguing actually when you said whether or not you notice there's a story. And so, can you like if I was going to start with your book tomorrow, like what's the overall journey that I'll be walking into?
Yeah, and the overall journey that you take through this book is driving you through, okay, taking it all the way up to the meta.
Yeah,
Everything in your world is a choice that we do not see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. So that goes all the way back to the Talmud. Carl Jung also gets credit for that quote. But the concept is, as we change the lens through which we see the world, we change the way we experience it. So everything in there is an arc of understanding and embedding that thinking. That there is a way for you to become aware of the lenses you're choosing, to experiment with the lenses you're choosing, to be choiceful and intentional about the lenses that you're using, and then to absolutely craft and hone the lenses that you're using, and thereby changing your experience of your world. And the chapters, I mean, when you have 52 chapters, you got to make them short, right? People are not going to carry around a tome. That was the idea, that these are short, actionable chapters. And at the end of each chapter, there's a section called Rewire. It's an acronym for reflect, experiment, write, investigate, revise, and expand. It's a 6-step process to actually take what you just learned in that chapter and experiment with it and use it and make that learning real. And in fact, there's a journal page for each chapter in the book for you to actually do some of those exercises in the Rewire section, so that there's really no excuse. As long as you have a pen and the book, you can actually begin to embed the learning. Whatever your learning is that you extract from each chapter, these are not, this is what you have to learn. This is not 6th grade ass in the chair learning style. This is very much, what's the learning you're pulling, and now how do you make that real? So it's designed to create meaningful, lasting change in your world. So that's the arc and the mechanism for it. So by the end of this, yes, there are people that are going to rip through it. There are also people that are going to pick it up every Monday and read one of the chapters and use the Rewire throughout that week. In fact, there's a link in the book to sign up for an email sequence that email experience will help keep you on track, the Mindset Mondays Accelerator, to help keep you moving. And there's a private Facebook group that will allow you to share your successes and challenges and comments and suggestions, and join the conversation with everybody else who's going through the book. So it's designed to be a year-long experience so that you'll actually read past chapter 1 and create some shift in your own world. I told you, it's designed for people to use this damn book.
yeah. I like that. I want to make sure we called that out. I want to make sure that we saw that. I love how you've been able to bring a lot of your different experiences to be able to translate it into the text, into this place where, and it seems like you give them like a choose your own adventure. And I think this also comes back to the element of relaxation. Absolutely. It's like, look, some people are going to read right through it. Some people are going to read and just read it. Some people are going to read through it and do all the exercises. And other people are going to take this for a year, and then they're going to like read through it. And each week they're going to go do it. And then some people might do it for a year and then go do the next year, do the same thing backwards, like
No,
get a new and then come back and go the opposite direction and see.
I actually had some 52-sided dice created to play with the idea of pick your chapter. So seriously, in terms of choose your own experience, choose your own adventure, really explored a lot of different ideas of ways to do it. And Yes, getting 52-sided die created is a whole rabbit hole on the internet. But it's the idea of this is really designed to be that it is an individualized experience.
All right. So I love to do a few different things here. The dice is making me think about some things, and um, I want to call out some things here. One of the things is that I really respect you, and I love how you're leaning into your own creativity. Right. When I saw the 52 sided dice, one blue, one white there, it resonated very deeply. It resonated deeply because this to me said, here goes someone who is just committing himself to the thoughts on his mind, the creative expressions, like it led down a path of like, how do I actually create this here? And what I get is a sense of like, this too also had space, the idea of a 52 sided die, and a very simple way to, like you said, play while still doing all this work here. That really excites me. That really excites me because I know we're going to have ongoing experiences around this here. One of the things that we're looking into is how we can bring an experience for people to actually uh, come out and go into to basically play with the book with you, and enter a sandbox with us like in real time and play through some of this. Please bring the dice, and let's see what we create from that. So Trailblazers, look out for that. Where there's going to be an opportunity to come and actually play in this space here. You can go to niyamashan.com to be able to get the invitation to that experience. But we'll make sure that you have an opportunity to continue to dive and be in this space of actually applying a lot of what you heard here, and also some of the great things that are happening within the book and for yourself. Right, David. I also want to just note you and just the way that your mind works, the way that you find you're committed. I think that's what I'm feeling is commitment and integrity. It's like you're someone who plays. So how does that work through everything that you do? You're someone who shows up and really plays from the heart. And so how does that come through? And I really wanted to say, like, it's like we're talking. It's interesting. It's Mindset Mondays, but it's like when I think about it here, knowing you, there's so much that also hits the heart along the way. And I just wanted to say thank you for bringing your heart to this conversation. Thank you for letting us know more about your process, because I can see how like the heart has come out throughout all that, and I'm really excited to continue to dive down the path of what takes place when, however I choose to play the journey, and how all of us choose to play here, and as we choose our adventure. A number of us are going to want to continue the adventure with you, DTK. So can you share with us like how we can go about doing that? I alluded to you and I having something in the future where we can work with people in real time. But for anyone else that's looking to get their hands on the book or and stay in your world, where can they go?
Beautiful, thank you. Mindset Mondays. So there's a Facebook group that will give you easy access to the live broadcasts, and that's facebook.com/group/Mindset Mondays. You can always go to Mindset Mondays with DTK.com. That'll point you towards the book, point you towards the broadcast. It's a great central point to find access to all of this. Once you've got the book, there's an invitation to the Mindset Mondays Accelerator so that you have those two pieces to play off each other. And every Monday morning, it's Monday morning East Coast, so that's 10 a.m. East Coast. It'll be a great way to finish your Monday on the Pacific Rim. And it's a 10 to 12-minute broadcast to get your mind spinning a little bit.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We're really much about that here, just having that thought provoking element of it all. So, David, as we wrap up for today, I'd love to give you the space to play and leave us with one. I call it an outsight. It's not an insight because it's something that we are receiving, right? So if you can leave us with one outsight that you'd love to have germinate within us, have like this even a small little seed for us to take away from this conversation, what might that outsight be?
Yeah, and Thank you for asking that because I'm looking at the little chalkboard behind you, outliers, pioneers, and mavericks. And I realize one of the things that happens when you're out in front, when you're creating a path, and there's both the compulsion from the inside to draw you to create and to lead. There's also an unfortunate common outcome of isolation, right? Because you are out in front, you're creating the path. That trailblazer piece can be super lonely. Just because you're an outlier, just because you're a trailblazer, just because you're a maverick, doesn't mean you don't ask for help and you don't have access to it. So the question that's open to all outliers, pioneers, and mavericks is, where's the support that's already there and available for you? Where can you seek that support, that 10% effort for a 100x outcome?
Thank you, David. I'm going to let that question sit there. I'm looking forward to the ongoing success of the book. I'm looking forward to the ongoing success of people's lives being transformed and their mindsets being shifted on a regular basis. Thank you for playing the game that you play. Thank you for being the human that you are. I'm thrilled we got to spend this time together. I'm thrilled that we can all go on this journey with you as well. All right. I'm really looking forward to it. Mindset Mondays with DTK.
Beautiful, Nama. Thanks for letting me jump in the sandbox with you. Joy.
Hey, Onyama here. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet, and then go ahead and leave one of your insights from today's video in the comments below. If you're looking to take this deeper, you can go and watch another video, or you can go to niyama.com/tribe to get exclusive invitation to our tribe member only events. I'll see you soon.